The Grand Nexus station hung in space like a jewel, orbiting a neutron star that pulsed with ancient light. Inside its massive halls, Ambassador Tae-hyun walked with steady steps toward the council chamber. His dark suit was perfectly pressed, and in his hand, he carried humanity's formal application for membership in the Galactic Council. He had prepared for this moment for 10 years. The chamber itself was enormous. 47 different species sat in their designated sections, each area designed for their unique biology. The crystalline Vorthax shimmered with inner light. The gaseous Luminara floated in containment fields. The reptilian Krell sat on heated platforms, their scales gleaming under the artificial lights. Hundreds of other beings filled the space, representing civilizations that had existed for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. Tae-hyun stood in the center of the chamber, a single human surrounded by the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. He was not afraid. Humanity had spent 50 years trading peacefully with these species, sharing art and culture, proving they could be trusted. This was just a formality, or so he thought. Members of the Galactic Council, Tae-hyun began, his voice amplified across the chamber. I come before you today, representing humanity. We have walked among the stars for 2 centuries now. We have traded fairly, respected your laws, and sought only friendship. Today, we formally request membership in this great council. He activated his display, showing images of human achievements. Cities that touched the clouds, ships that could cross solar systems, art that moved the soul, medical advances that had cured diseases thought incurable, music that dozens of alien species had come to love. We bring innovation, creativity, and a commitment to peace, Tae-hyun said. We wish only to take our place among you as equals. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, Crystallix Prime, the ancient Vorthax who served as council chair, spoke. His voice was like glass grinding against stone. Humanity, he said. And the word sounded like an insult. You are children. Violent, aggressive children, who have barely learned to walk beyond your single star system. You speak of peace, but you maintain vast military fleets. You speak of equality, but you refuse to acknowledge your betters. Tae-hyun felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice calm. We maintain defensive forces only. We have never attacked another species. We have never broken a treaty. Our record speaks for itself. Scales of Judgment, the Krell War Master, rose from his platform. His massive form dominated the space around him. Your record? Humans have fought each other in countless wars. You nearly destroyed your own planet with weapons of mass destruction. You think we forget these things? You think a mere century of peace erases millennia of violence. Every species here has a history of conflict, Tae-hyun argued. The Krell themselves were conquerors once. The Vorthax destroyed 3 neighboring systems in their expansion period. We do not judge you by your past. Why do you judge us by ours? Silence! Crystallix Prime's voice rang out like a bell. You dare question the council? You dare compare your primitive barbarism to the growing pains of civilized species? This is exactly why humanity cannot be trusted. You do not know your place. The vote came swiftly. 47 species, 47 votes, every single one against humanity. Tae-hyun stood in shock. He had expected debate, perhaps a delay, but not this. Not complete rejection. Not the contempt he heard in their voices. However, Crystallix Prime continued, the Council recognizes that humanity poses a potential threat to galactic stability. Therefore, we issue this decree. Humanity will surrender all faster-than-light technology within 3 Earth months. Human military forces will be disbanded. All human colonies beyond your home system will be evacuated. Earth will submit to Council oversight. These terms are not negotiable. What? Tae-hyun could not believe what he was hearing. You cannot be serious. You would cripple our entire civilization because you fear us? We have done nothing wrong. Tae-hyun, we have done nothing wrong. You exist, Crystallix Prime said simply. That is enough. You will comply, or you will face corrective measures. Tae-hyun turned to leave. This was madness. He would return to Earth, and humanity would decide how to respond. But as he reached the chamber entrance, energy fields sprang to life around him. He was trapped in a cage of crackling blue light. Where are you going, Ambassador? Crystallix Prime asked. Did I give you permission to leave? You humans must learn respect. And I think you will serve as an excellent lesson. Guards surrounded the energy cage. Tae-hyun tried to stay calm, but fear crept into his heart. I am a diplomatic envoy. I have immunity under galactic law. Laws, the Vorthax said, are made by those with power, and you have none. They dragged him to a public square within the station. Thousands of aliens watched as the guards strapped Tae-hyun into a strange device. It looked like a chair, but with wires and probes attached to it. He recognized it from intelligence reports. A neural burner. A torture device that slowly destroyed the brain while keeping the victim alive and aware. Let this be a message to humanity, Crystallix Prime announced across the station's public broadcast system. The transmission was sent to every corner of the galaxy. This is what happens to those who defy the Council. The machine activated. Pain exploded through Tae-hyun's skull. It felt like fire eating through his brain, cell by cell. He screamed. He could not help it. The pain was beyond anything he had ever imagined. And it did not stop. Hour after hour, the machine worked on him, destroying his neural pathways one by one. He saw his memories dying, his childhood on Earth, his wife's face, his daughter's laughter. All of it, burning away like paper in a flame. He tried to hold on to something, anything, but the pain consumed everything. 3 days it lasted. 72 hours of agony broadcast across the galaxy for all to see. When it finally ended, Tae-hyun could no longer think in complete thoughts. He could no longer remember who he was. His body remained alive, but his mind was shattered. The guards dumped him into an escape pod and launched it toward human space. As the pod drifted away from the station, Tae-hyun's lips moved, forming a single W. The emergency session began exactly 1 hour after Tae-hyun's pod reached Earth. Fleet Admiral Da-eun stood at the head of the war room table, her face carved from stone. Around her sat the most powerful humans in the solar system. Military commanders, intelligence directors, scientists, politicians, every one of them had watched the broadcast. The silence in the room was absolute. There was no shouting, no calls for immediate revenge, just cold, calculating fury that ran deeper than rage ever could. Tactical assessment, Da-eun said simply. General Sang-ho activated the holographic display. It showed the entire galaxy, with Council territories marked in red. There were so many of them. 47 species, thousands of worlds, millions of ships. On paper, we cannot win a direct war, Sang-ho said. They outnumber us, 100 to 1. Their territory is vast. Their resources are effectively infinite compared to ours. He paused. However, they have one critical weakness. They have been at peace for 3,000 years. They have forgotten how to fight. Intelligence Director Yoon-ji stepped forward. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. The Ghost Protocol has been active since first contact. We have operatives, both human and sympathetic aliens, in every major council system. We have detailed intelligence on their military capabilities, economic networks, and political structures. They know almost nothing about us. She pulled up documents, sensor data, communications intercepts, decades worth of information gathered in secret, while humanity smiled and traded with the Council. They think we are primitives, Yoon-ji continued. They think they understand us. They are wrong. Prime Minister Hyun-woo spoke next. He was an older man who had spent his entire career trying to bring humanity into the galactic community peacefully. That dream was dead now. Burned away in the same machine that destroyed Taehyun's mind. "The people are calling for war," he said quietly. "Every single colony, every station, every city on Earth, they want blood. And frankly, so do I." He looked around the table. "But we are not the Galactic Council. We will not act like barbarians. We will act like humans. We will plan. We will prepare. And when we strike, it will be precise." Chief Scientist Bo Ram stood and activated another display. This one showed weapons. Designs that existed only in the most classified databases. Technology that humanity had been developing in secret for decades. "Project Reaper," she said. "We began this program 50 years ago. When we first encountered the Galactic Council, we knew there was a possibility they would be hostile. We prepared for it. The weapons on display were terrifying. Quantum disruption missiles that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. Swarm drones that used artificial intelligence to adapt to any defense. Relativistic kinetic weapons that struck with the force of nuclear bombs. And the most disturbing of all, nanobots that could infiltrate biological systems and shut them down from the inside. The Council's technology has barely changed in 1,000 years, Bo Ram explained. They became comfortable, complacent. They stopped innovating. We never did. In 200 years of space travel, we have developed weapons they cannot even imagine." Commander Min-ho of Special Operations cleared his throat. He was young for his rank, but his record spoke for itself. "I propose we do not simply defeat them. We dismantle them. We break their alliance. We expose their crimes. We turn the galaxy against them, while simultaneously destroying their ability to fight back." "Explain." Da-eun ordered. Min-ho pulled up a strategic map. "The Galactic Council rules through fear and tradition. Many species serve them reluctantly. We have identified at least 20 species that have been oppressed by Council policies. Another 15 that have been economically exploited. If we can prove the Council is not invincible, those species will turn on them." He marked several systems on the map. "We hit them in stages. First, we strike their military assets. Quick, surgical operations that eliminate their ability to project power, but we do it in ways that seem impossible. Second," Yoonji added, "we destroy their economy. We cut off their trade routes. We expose their corruption. We bankrupt them. Wars are expensive, and the Council has not prepared for one in millennia. Third," said Ambassador Ji-woo, who had been Taehyun's student and friend, "we offer an alternative. We contact every oppressed species, every exploited colony, every marginalized group. We tell them that humanity is willing to fight for a new galaxy, one where no council dictates terms, one where species are actually equal." She had been crying when she first saw the broadcast of Taehyun's torture. Now her eyes were dry and hard as diamonds. "My mentor taught me that diplomacy is about finding peaceful solutions. The Council taught me that some people only understand force. We will speak their language now." Da-eun listened to all of them. She looked at the strategic assessments, the weapons data, the intelligence reports. Finally, she spoke. "The Council expects us to launch a direct assault on the Nexus station. They expect us to act emotionally, rashly. They think they know how humans fight." She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "They are about to learn they know nothing." She began issuing orders. "Min-ho, activate the Ghost Fleet. I want Council military assets disappearing within the week. Make it look impossible. Make it look like magic. I want them terrified of every shadow. Yoonji, release everything we have on Council war crimes. Send it to independent news networks. Make sure every species sees what the Council really is. Bo Ram, begin production on the Reaper weapons. Full authorization. No budget limits. If it can give us an advantage, build it. Ji-woo, start making contact with dissident groups. Quietly. Carefully. Let them know humanity is willing to support their freedom. Sang-ho, mobilize the fleet. But keep them in defensive positions. Let the council think we are protecting our worlds. They will not see the knife until it is too late. She turned to Prime Minister Hyun-woo. I need you to give me time. Keep the politicians calm. Keep the people focused. This will not be quick. But it will be thorough. Hyun-woo nodded. You have whatever you need, Admiral. End this. 2. Clam. 10. Dae-yoon looked at the holographic display showing the galaxy. Somewhere out there, in a medical facility, Tae-hyun lay in a bed unable to remember his own name. The man who had dedicated his life to peace had been destroyed for simply asking to be treated fairly. Humanity spent 50 years trying. 2 weeks passed after the Council's ultimatum. The galaxy watched and waited for humanity's response. The major news networks speculated endlessly. Would the humans surrender? Would they fight? Would they try to negotiate? Crystallix Prime appeared on galactic broadcasts, mocking humanity's silence. The children are sulking, he said with what passed for amusement among the Vorthax. Perhaps they finally understand their place. 3 more weeks, humans. Then, we come for you. On the Nexus Station, Council species celebrated their victory over the upstart humans. The Krell held military parades. The Vorthax composed songs about their superiority. Life went on as it always had for the Council. They ruled the galaxy, and everyone knew it. Then the Krell battle fleet disappeared. It happened in deep space, far from any inhabited system. The fleet consisted of 200 warships, the pride of the Krell Empire. They were traveling in formation, completely routine. Then, between one sensor sweep and the next, they stopped transmitting. The Krell High Command sent scouts to investigate. What they found made no sense. All 200 ships were intact, floating dead in space, but structurally perfect. Life support was still functioning. Engines were undamaged. But every single crew member was dead. Over 50,000 Krell warriors, all deceased without any sign of battle damage to their ships. The medical teams that boarded the vessels found something impossible. Every body had tiny machines in their bloodstream. Nanobots, the doctors said. Technology so small, it could barely be detected. The bots had entered the bloodstream and shut down critical functions simultaneously across the entire fleet. Then someone noticed something that turned fear into horror. The nanobots were still active, still functioning, waiting for new commands. Someone had killed 50,000 beings without firing a single shot, and had left the murder weapons behind as a calling card. The Krell immediately locked down the derelict fleet. But it was too late. The story spread. The entire galaxy heard about it, and with the story came a holographic message left on every ship's communication system. It showed the torture of Ambassador Tae-hyun, and below it, simple text. You started this. Commander Minho watched the news reports from his ship, the Shadow of Earth. It was the flagship of humanity's Ghost Fleet. Ships coded in experimental stealth technology that made them invisible to conventional sensors. Around him, his crew worked in perfect silence. They were the best of the best. Volunteers who understood the mission. Target acquired, his sensor officer reported. Vorthax communication relay. No defensive ships in range. Execute, Minho ordered. The Shadow and its sister ships moved through space like phantoms. They were close enough to see the massive crystalline structure that served as a communication hub for 3 Vorthax systems. It was beautiful, in its way. A massive crystal lattice that pulsed with data transmissions. It took exactly 12 seconds to destroy it. Human missiles struck with precision, and the ancient structure shattered into a billion pieces. Before any Vorthax ships could respond, the Ghost Fleet was gone, already heading to the next target. Across Council space, the pattern repeated. Supply depots exploded. Communication relays went dark. Shipyards burned. And every single time, there was no warning. No ships detected. Just sudden, devastating strikes that seemed to come from nowhere. Pilot So Young led her fighter squadron in a raid that would become legendary. The target was a Luminara fuel refinery that supplied energy to almost a third of the Council's military vessels. It was deep in Luminara space, protected by defense stations and patrol fleets. Her squadron appeared on sensors for exactly 8 seconds. That was all the time they needed. New human fighters, faster than anything the Council had ever seen, streaked through the defense grid before it could even power up. Precision missiles struck the refinery's core, but these were not explosive missiles. They were designed to cause a controlled shutdown, not a catastrophic explosion. The refinery went dark. The Luminara workers inside had just enough time to evacuate before the backup systems failed. No casualties, but the strategic damage was enormous. Without that refinery, dozens of Council fleets would run out of fuel within weeks. So Young's squadron vanished into faster-than-light space before the defense stations even fired a shot. The whole operation took less than 5 minutes. On Earth, Captain Young-Soo coordinated the economic warfare. He had spent years building relationships with alien merchants and traders. Now he used those relationships to destroy the Council's economy. Every human merchant vessel in Council space suddenly recalled home. Thousands of ships, carrying goods that Council worlds had come to depend on. Medicine, technology, entertainment, all of it vanished overnight. Hospitals on Vorthax worlds ran out of human-designed medical nanites and had to use inferior alternatives. Krell warriors discovered that their favorite human music and art was no longer available. Smaller species found that critical technologies they had purchased from humans no longer had replacement parts. Panic buying started. Then hoarding. Then riots. The Council tried to suppress the chaos, but it spread too fast. Worlds that had been comfortable and peaceful for centuries suddenly faced shortages and unrest. Young-Soo watched the economic reports with grim satisfaction. War was not just about weapons. It was about breaking your enemy's will to fight. And nothing broke will faster than empty store shelves and angry populations. The worst strike came against the Vorthax homeworld itself. The crystalline beings relied on a planet-wide communication network that connected every individual. It was the foundation of their society, their culture, their very identity. The network shattered. It happened simultaneously across the entire planet. Every crystal relay fractured at exactly the same moment. Billions of Vorthax suddenly found themselves isolated, unable to connect to the collective consciousness they had known their entire lives. Investigation revealed the cause. Months ago, humans had traded certain luxury goods to the Vorthax. Crystalline art pieces that were considered harmless. But embedded in those art pieces were microscopic fractures, designed to resonate at a specific frequency. When activated, they spread through the entire network like a virus, breaking everything. The humans had been planning this for months, maybe years. And the Vorthax had invited the weapons into their own homes. The Galaxy Watch, an independent news network run by species outside the Council, began asking questions that made the Council very uncomfortable. How is one species dismantling an alliance of 47? Their lead reporter asked during a broadcast. The Council told us that humanity was primitive, that they were children. Yet in 2 weeks, they have crippled the Krell military, destroyed Vorthax infrastructure, and shut down Luminara energy production. What else has the Council lied to us about? The Council tried to shut down the broadcasts, but they could not. The Galaxy Watch operated from neutral space, beyond Council jurisdiction, and their message spread to species who were starting to wonder if the Council was as powerful as they claimed. Back on the shadow of Earth, Commander Min Ho reviewed the next set of targets. There were dozens of them. Supply lines, communication systems, military bases, each one carefully selected to cause maximum disruption with minimal casualties. "We are not murderers," he had told his crew at the start. "We are surgeons, We cut precisely. We remove the tumor without killing the patient. His second officer, a woman named Haijin, looked at the casualty reports. The Krell fleet had been an exception. Most strikes had killed no one or very few. They will call us monsters anyway, she said. Let them, Minho replied. We are not doing this to be liked. We are doing this because they hurt one of ours. And we are showing them, and everyone else in this galaxy, that humanity does not forgive that. Ever. The council chamber was in chaos. Species that had worked together for millennia now shouted at each other across the vast hall. The careful order that had defined galactic government for 3,000 years was crumbling. This is your fault, the Luminara representative screamed at the Krell. Well, screamed was not quite right. The gaseous beings communicated through light pulses, but the translation came through as a scream. You provoked them. You supported Crystallix Prime's madness. Now our refineries are destroyed and our fleets are stranded. Scales of Judgment, or what remained of him after his demotion, tried to defend himself. The Krell did not torture the human. That was the Vorthax. We only supported the Council's decision, a decision that has cost us everything. Another voice joined in, the representative from the Drallan Collective, a species that had always been marginalized by the Council. You told us the humans were weak. You told us they would surrender. Instead, they are destroying you. And we are suffering for your arrogance. Crystallix Prime watched the chaos from his elevated platform. For the first time in his 2,000 years of life, he felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. The reports kept coming in. Another supply depot destroyed. Another communication hub gone dark. Another fleet found drifting with dead crews. The humans struck everywhere and nowhere. They appeared without warning and vanished before anyone could respond. Worse, his own intelligence officers reported something terrifying. The humans seemed to know everything about Council defenses. They knew where every base was located. They knew which systems were poorly defended. They knew the exact locations of fuel depots and ammunition stores. It was as if they had been watching and planning for decades, which, he was beginning to realize, they probably had. Order, he commanded, his crystalline voice cutting through the chaos. We must organize a response. We must mobilize every available ship and crush these insects. But the response he wanted did not come. Instead, the Krell representative stood. The Krell Empire is recalling its fleets. We will defend our own territory only. This is not our war. What? Crystallix Prime could not believe what he was hearing. You cannot abandon the Council. We can, and we will. The Krell said coldly. You started this war by torturing an innocent diplomat. You told us it would show humanity their place. Instead, it has destroyed our greatest battle fleet and made us look like fools. The Krell will not sacrifice more warriors for your pride. We, 3 more species, stood and announced they were recalling their forces. Then, 5 more. The Council was falling apart. Ambassador Jiwoo watched the Council's disintegration from a secure location. She was on a neutral space station, meeting with representatives from species that had never been allowed to join the Council, species that had been oppressed, exploited, or simply ignored by the galactic powers. You have seen what the Council truly is, she told the assembled delegates. They claim to maintain peace, but it is a peace built on fear and oppression. They claim to be fair, but they torture those who disagree with them. They claim to be civilized, but they are tyrants in expensive robes. She activated a holographic display. What appeared was damning. Files stolen from Council archives by human intelligence. Evidence of war crimes going back centuries. The Drallan homeworld, bombarded from orbit for refusing Council trade terms. The massacre of the Tenari species for attempting to form an independent alliance. Dozens of other crimes, all carefully hidden by the Council. Humanity has been gathering this evidence for 50 years, Jiwoo explained. We hoped we would never need to use it. We hoped the council could be reformed from within. They proved us wrong when they tortured Ambassador Taehyun. 1. A representative from the Dralan Collective, a being named Subin, stood. My people lost our homeworld to council peacekeeping forces. We have lived as refugees for 30 years. The council told the galaxy we were rebels and terrorists. This evidence proves we were victims. We are broadcasting this evidence on every independent news network, Jiwoo said. The entire galaxy will see what the council has done. But evidence alone is not enough. We need species willing to stand up and demand change. Humanity cannot do this alone. You are not alone, Subin said firmly. The Dralan stand with humanity. We have been waiting for someone to challenge the council. Someone strong enough to make it matter. You have proven you are that someone. One by one, other species pledged their support. Small species, weak species, refugee species. None of them could match the council's military might individually, but together, with human support, they represented a new power block that could not be ignored. Jiwoo felt a mixture of pride and sorrow. Taehyun had believed in diplomacy, in peaceful negotiation. He would have hated this. But he was also the reason this was necessary. His broken mind and tortured body were proof that the council understood only force. We will build something better, she promised the assembled delegates. Not a council of the powerful, but a coalition of equals. Every species with a voice. Every world with representation. No tyrants, no torture, no more oppression. On the Krell homeworld, a military coup was underway. The commanders who had lost their fleets to human attacks had stripped scales of judgment of his rank and position. The new Krell leadership understood what the old one had not. This war was not winnable. War leader Flame of Morning, newly appointed to command the Krell military, sent a secret message to Admiral Da-un. It was risky, possibly treason, but necessary. We did not choose this war, the message read. Crystallix Prime forced it upon us all. The Krell have no desire to die for Vorthak's pride. Tell us your terms. Tell us how this ends. Da-un read the message with interest. The Krell were legendary warriors, proud and stubborn. For them to seek terms was significant. She composed her response carefully. Humanity wants 3 things. First, the dissolution of the current council and the creation of a new, democratic, galactic government. Second, Crystallix Prime and others responsible for war crimes must face trial. Third, reparations to every species harmed by council policies. Meet these terms, and we have no quarrel with the Krell or any other species. The response came back within hours. The Krell will support these terms, but you must succeed. If you fail, if Crystallix Prime remains in power, he will destroy us for this communication. We will not fail, Da-un replied simply. The intelligence breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A Vorthak scientist appeared at a human diplomatic station, requesting asylum. Her name translated to Crystal Light of Dawn, and she carried information that would change everything. Crystallix Prime is not what he seems, she told the shocked human intelligence officers. He is over 2,000 years old. Vorthaks normally live 500 years. He uses forbidden life extension technology, stolen from a species the Council destroyed centuries ago, and he has been manipulating Council politics for his entire extended life. He starts wars. He creates crises. He does it to maintain control and power. She provided schematics of the Nexus station, detailed information about the station's defenses, and most importantly, the location of Crystallix Prime's private chambers where he kept the life extension equipment. He must be stopped, Crystal Light of Dawn said. I once believed in the Council. I believed we were bringing order to the galaxy. But I saw your diplomats' torture. I saw the cruelty. And I researched the archives, the crimes, the lies. I cannot serve this anymore. Intelligence Director Unji welcomed the defector and immediately began analyzing the information. It was gold. Better than gold. It was a roadmap to ending the war. Within days, the information reached Admiral Daun. "We have our target," she said. "The Nexus station. We will take it. Not destroy it. Take it. And we will put Crystallix Prime on trial for the entire galaxy to see." General Sang Ho studied the schematics. "It is heavily defended. We will lose ships. Lose people." "Yes," Daun agreed. "But we end this. We break the Council's back. We show every species in the galaxy that tyranny has consequences." She looked at each of her commanders in turn. Crystallix Prime thought he was teaching humanity a lesson when he tortured Tae-Hyun. He was right. He did teach us something. He taught us that evil must be opposed, no matter the cost. He taught us that justice sometimes requires force. The human fleet, assembled in the darkness between stars. 2,000 warships, representing every vessel humanity could bring to bear. Carriers, battleships, destroyers, support craft. It was the entire military might of human space, gathered for one purpose. Admiral Daun stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, watching the fleet reports come in. Every ship, ready. Every crew prepared. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future in the galaxy. "Send the message," she ordered. The transmission broadcast on every frequency, to every being on the Nexus station. It was simple and direct. "This is Admiral Daun of the Unified Earth Fleet. In 12 hours, we will take control of the Nexus station. This is your only warning. All non-combatants, all species not directly involved in Council military command, evacuate immediately. We have no quarrel with you. What comes next is between humanity and those who gave the order to torture an innocent diplomat. You have 12 hours. 12 hours. The station descended into panic. Thousands of beings rushed to the docking bays. Civilian ships launched in a continuous stream, fleeing before the humans arrived. Even some military personnel abandoned their posts. They had seen what humanity could do. They did not want to be there when the humans came. Crystallix Prime watched the evacuation with growing rage. "Cowards!" he screamed. "Stand and fight! We are the Galactic Council. We do not flee from primitives." But they did flee. By the time the deadline arrived, 3/4 of the station's population had evacuated. Only the most loyal Council species remained, along with Crystallix Prime's personal guards and the true believers who thought the Council was invincible. They were about to learn otherwise. The human fleet appeared on sensors exactly 12 hours after the warning. They came in perfect formation, shields up, weapons charged. The Nexus station's defense fleet moved to intercept 1,500 Council warships against 2,000 human vessels. On paper, it should have been a hard fight. It was not even close. The human ships had been fighting Council forces for weeks. Their crews were veterans now. Their tactics were proven. Their weapons were designed specifically to counter Council technology. When the two fleets met, the battle lasted less than an hour. Human missiles used quantum disruption technology, appearing inside enemy shields without having to cross the intervening space. Fighters moved so fast that Council point defense systems could not track them. Swarm drones adapted to every defensive measure the Council tried. The Council defense fleet broke. Ships retreated or surrendered. A few fought to the end and were destroyed. But the majority simply gave up. They had no answer to human weapons, human tactics, human determination. Admiral Daun did not celebrate the victory. She simply gave the next order. "Begin the assault. All Marine units. Execute." Captain Jae Sung led the first wave. His transport ship carried 500 Marines in powered armor, warriors trained for boarding operations. They launched in armored pods that struck the Nexus station's hull like meteors. The pods used advanced cutting lasers to bore through the station's armor. Within minutes, human Marines poured into the corridors. They had complete schematics of the station, provided by the Vorthax defector. They knew every corridor, every defensive position, every critical system. The fighting was brutal but brief. Council security forces tried to hold choke points, but human tactics overwhelmed them. Stun grenades, smoke screens, drones that flew ahead and marked targets. The Marines moved through the station like a precision machine, clearing section after section. Resistance is minimal, Jae-sung reported back to the fleet. Most defenders are surrendering. We are converging on the council chambers. Crystallix Prime had barricaded himself in the heart of the station with his most loyal guards. Energy shields blocked the main entrance. Automated defense turrets covered every approach. It should have been an impregnable fortress. Commander Minho's ghost team arrived at the outer perimeter. They had been saving their most advanced technology for this moment. While other Marines engaged the guards and turrets as a distraction, Minho activated the quantum tunneling device. The wall in front of him shimmered and became transparent. Not an illusion. The device actually shifted the molecular structure of the wall, allowing solid matter to pass through it. It lasted only seconds and consumed enormous amounts of energy, but seconds were all they needed. The ghost team walked through the wall and appeared directly inside the council chambers, behind all the defenses. Crystallix Prime and his guards spun around in shock. "That is impossible," the ancient Vorthax shrieked. "You cannot be here." "We are humans," Minho said calmly. "We specialize in impossible." The guards raised their weapons, but they never fired. Human stun weapons dropped them instantly. Within seconds, Crystallix Prime stood alone, surrounded by armed humans. "You cannot do this," he said. But his voice wavered. "I am the council chair. I have ruled for 2,000 years. I am beyond your primitive laws." "Exactly," Minho replied. "You ruled through fear and torture. You extended your life using stolen technology. You manipulated species into wars for your own benefit. We have evidence of everything. And now, you will face trial for it." Crystallix Prime tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Marines secured him with restraints designed to hold even crystalline beings. The ancient ruler of the galaxy was a prisoner, but Minho had not forgotten what brought them here. He ordered Crystallix Prime taken to a medical chamber. There, waiting, was the same neural burner that had destroyed Taehyun's mind. "No," Crystallix Prime begged. "Please. You cannot. You are better than this. You are civilized." "We are," Minho agreed. "We gave you 12 hours to evacuate civilians. We accepted surrenders. We used non-lethal weapons whenever possible. But we also keep our promises. You tortured an innocent man and broadcast it across the galaxy. You wanted to teach us a lesson about power. Now we teach you one about justice." The broadcast went out on every frequency, to every corner of the galaxy. Just as Crystallix Prime had broadcast Taehyun's torture, humanity now broadcast his. The neural burner activated, the ancient being screamed, and the galaxy watched. For 3 days, just as with Taehyun, the torture continued. It was not vengeance, Minho told himself. It was justice. It was showing that the same rules applied to everyone, even council leaders. But late at night, he wondered if there was really a difference. When it ended, Crystallix Prime was broken just as Taehyun had been. Unable to think clearly, unable to remember who he was, reduced to a shell of his former self. He would live out whatever remained of his extended life in that state, a permanent reminder of his crimes. Admiral Daun broadcast from the captured council chambers. Behind her, human flags hung where council banners had been. Her message reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. "The Galactic Council is dissolved," she announced. "For 3,000 years, it has claimed to bring peace and order. In reality, it brought oppression and tyranny. It tortured those who disagreed. It destroyed species who resisted. It ruled through fear rather than consent." She gestured to the empty chamber. Humanity did not come here seeking empire. We came seeking membership, friendship, equality. We were answered with cruelty. So we answered back, not with genocide, not with conquest, but with the precise application of force to remove a cancer from the galaxy. Today, we offer something new. A coalition of equals where every species has a voice, where disputes are resolved through debate, not torture, where strength protects the weak rather than exploiting them. Join us, or do not. But know this: the age of tyranny is over. Humanity will not allow another council to rise. We will stand guard against oppression wherever we find it. The broadcast ended. Around the galaxy, reactions varied. Some species cheered. Others, worried. Many were simply stunned that the council they had known their entire lives was gone. Broken by a species that most had considered primitive just months ago. On Earth, in a medical facility, someone visited Tae-hyun. Ambassador Ji-woo sat beside his bed and held his hand. He stared at the ceiling, his mind still shattered, still unable to process complex thoughts. "We won," she told him softly. "We did what you taught us. We tried diplomacy first. We offered peace. But when that failed, we did not simply accept defeat. We fought back. We won, and we are building something better." A tear rolled down Taehyun's cheek. Ji-woo could not tell if he understood, but she thought, maybe. In whatever fragments remained of his brilliant mind, he knew. He knew that his sacrifice had not been in vain. "We remembered," she whispered, echoing the word he had repeated over and over after his torture. "Just like you asked, we remembered. And we made them pay for what they did to you. To us. To everyone they hurt." She stood to leave, but paused at the door. "The new galaxy is not perfect, but it is better. And that is because of you. Everything you taught us about fighting for what is right. About never accepting injustice. About standing up to bullies. We learned, teacher. We learned." Outside, through the hospital window, Earth continued its rotation. Above, human ships patrolled the solar system, no longer afraid of what might come from the stars. Across the galaxy, species were making choices about their future. Some would join the new coalition. Others would remain independent. But none would again see humanity as weak, primitive, or ignorant. The Galactic Council had tried to teach humanity its place. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that would echo for generations. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Do not mistake peace for cowardice. And never, ever harm a human diplomat and expect to walk away unpunished. The age of the Council was over. The age of humanity was just beginning. He taught us that we cannot rely on others to protect us. We must be strong enough to protect ourselves and others who cannot fight back. Commander Minho spoke up. "The Ghost Fleet is ready. We have been preparing for this since the war began. Then prepare for the final strike," Daeun ordered. "We take the Nexus Station, we capture Crystallix Prime, and we show the galaxy what humanity really is. Not conquerors, not tyrants, but people who will fight for what is right, no matter what it costs us." He looked at the tactical display showing Council territory. Everywhere, there were red markers indicating strikes, destroyed facilities, damaged infrastructure, military units in disarray. It looked like a disease spreading across the map. "The Council thought they were teaching us a lesson," Minho said softly. "They were right. They did teach us something. They taught us that the galaxy respects only power, that being peaceful is seen as being weak, that asking for fairness is seen as begging." He smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "Now we are teaching them a lesson. We are teaching them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness, when you mistake peace for cowardice, when you mistake silence for surrender." The Ghost Fleet moved to its next target. Behind them, another piece of the Galactic Council's power structure burned, and across the galaxy, species began to wonder. If the mighty Council could not stop these humans, were they really mighty at all? Oh, join the galactic community peacefully, Daum said softly. We offered friendship. We offered trade. We offered partnership. They answered with torture and threats. She closed her hand into a fist. Now they will learn what happens when you make an enemy of Earth. We are not Krell warriors who fight for glory. We are not Vorthax elders who care about honor. We are humans. And we fight to win. The meeting ended. Orders went out across the solar system. Ships began moving into position. Weapons were loaded. Agents activated their deep cover. Scientists worked around the clock. The Galactic Council had 3 months before their deadline expired. They expected humanity to surrender or prepare for a desperate defense. They had no idea that the war had already begun, and they were already losing, Ord over and over again. It was all his broken mind could manage, the one command that had survived the burning. Remember, he whispered to the empty pod. Remember. The pod's automatic systems carried him home. And Earth did remember. Every human who saw the broadcast remembered. Every person who witnessed the torture of an innocent diplomat remembered. The Galactic Council had made their point. They had shown their power. They had proven they could hurt humanity with impunity. They had also made the biggest mistake in their long history. They had given humanity a reason to show what humans could do when you hurt one of their own.